I know it sounds like a classic excuse, but my computer really ate up my PowerPoint at 3 o'clock this afternoon, so I threw up my hands and quit.
It's
So
here.
I was trying to, I looked at the objectives, and then they said I should be the first, so I thought, oh, then the first has to do theory. That's the first. So I was trying to make a PowerPoint on queer theory, a little bit of its separation and unities with feminism and feminist movements, and then also perhaps a little discussion on post-colonial theory because that looks so Western. If you only look at queer theory and feminist theory, and you'll have to forgive me and stop. How many minutes do I really have? Whoever, whatever. Stop me if I'm 15. So the truth is, queer theory, if you look at it from, let's say, the early theorists, I don't know if some of you still know Gail Rubin and Eve Sedgwick, really developed quite separately from feminist theory, and then found its integration in someone like Judith Butler, who is central also to queer theory, but if you read her book, she says she's talking within the feminist movement. So, queer theory, I think, my first PowerPoint that got eaten out had only 3 blocks: no sex, this gender and desire. And queer theory tries to look at sex, gender, and desire, and attempts to denaturalize it, because if you look at classic mainstream constructions of heterosexual, heteronormative genital sexuality that's captured within the nuclear family. Allow me to say that again, that heterosexual, heteronormative, patriarchal, gender, genital sexuality within the nuclear family. I think that's what we've got, right? If you look at that, it does tend to say, very simply, that if you're born with a certain sex, then you have a certain gender, and also you have a set of desires, and then include gender expressions. What Butler essentially calls the heterosexual matrix. So queer theory tries to say that all these seemingly natural, inevitable constellation of concepts and practices and things that actually make sense to people, determine their identities, determine how they desire. These are all put together discursively by power. So that, and a lot of queer theory revolves around looking at sex, gender, desire, and denaturalizing and troubling that matrix. So, sabi nga ni Teresa de Lauretis, hinighlight ko na lang yung mga pinagkukuhanan ko na so I can please catch up with my love PowerPoint. Sabi ni Teresa de Lauretis, queer theory is a refusal of heterosexuality as the benchmark for all sexual formations. It begins with that. And go on. So that's what is first, no? Secondly, queer theory is also, sorry, I'm suffering. I think demarcates, secondly, according to, let's say, David Halperin, it's a critique of what is normal in sexuality, and therefore the extension of normative sexuality. You know, sexuality I described as heterosexual, heteronormative, genital, okay, that one, that long set of names. It's a critique of that. So, quoting again, David Halperin says that queer demarcates not a positivity, but a positionality against the normative. A positionality that is not restricted to lesbians and gay men, and I would add the rest, bisexual. bisexual, transgender. But it is in fact available to anyone who is or who feels marginalized because of his or her sexual practices. So in that sense, there you begin to see that there's a link here already to feminist theories. And in fact, even within queer theory, you have a problem here because sometimes the non-normative implies a normative. It's like anything that's not normal is what we are. So you may tend to fall into the trouble with the not normal. Because the queer theory is that it asks, this is what's troubling with the normal, right? But if it's always taking an oppositional stance, then you also have the problem of this is what's troubling with the not normal, right? And that's the debate even within queer theory itself. What is it that we are reaching for? And what are we trying very hard to do? So thirdly, and this is the separation now from feminist theory, queer theory seems to emerge as a lens to focus on sex and sexuality independently of gender. Because gender, from the feminist point of view, was about men and women's oppression within patriarchy. So certainly, queer theory has some links to it, as we said, but also it's not just about men and women, because obviously there are gay people, gay men, and bisexual men, and trans men and women, who certainly are not quite fitting into the issues of feminist theory. So that part of feminist theory, which was also important, like a lot of feminist theory doesn't question sex, and that sex determines gender. We needed trans men and women to come up and actually make us question our idea that women are women and they're oppressed by men and they're men. So this questioning of sex, is it natural or not? Does sex naturally lead to a gender and a gender identity? Does a gender identity then dictate particular desires? That's really quite a lot about queer theory. Is that like okay so far? Ano?
And these are
Okay. So there are a lot of feminist theories. So Judith Butler says the problem really is that if we always allocate gender to feminism and sexuality to queer theory, we're going to have problems. Because we might cast those two in an antagonistic relationship. For queer theory, feminism is reduced to one side, the sex wars, those who seek to regulate and harm the sexuality of women, while for feminism, queer theory is reduced to sexual libertarian ethics and representation of politics, and many times in actual social movements, while feminism looks dominated by women feminists who may or may not be homophobic, queer theory can become, to feminists, white male, gay dominated politics.